and welcome to Transformational Tuesdays. I'm Teresa Velardi, your host for this time of inspiration, education, motivation, and conversation focused in key ingredients necessary to create positive change in our lives, which I call transformation. And I'm sure you do too, or else you wouldn't be here. So welcome to Transformational Tuesdays. A couple of announcements. I just want to let you know that our website has changed a little bit. If you haven't seen it, go have a look. Doreen's done a great job. And most specifically, I want you to look at the Contact Teresa portion of that. There are many areas where we're asking you to reach out and let us know how you're enjoying Transformational Tuesdays, if there's something specific you would like to learn on this show, and also to remind you that we have a technology segment every 6 weeks. Now, next week, Doreen will be here with us with technology. If you have questions on anything technology, you want to put it in that Contact Teresa area, and we'll be sure to address your question on the call next week. Okay? Yes. So without further ado, I want to introduce my good friend and today's guest, Joe DiChiara. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about Joe. He is an accomplished CPA with over 30 years of experience, specializing in startups and small growing businesses. After opening his first CPA office in 1994, he soon discovered an affinity for teaching and helping small business owners succeed. In 2004, Joe developed an online bookkeeping system that reduces the cost of operating his accounting practice by over 50%, while reducing client bookkeeping costs by 25%. That system has evolved into an online business academy offering a wide range of business and marketing courses. Mr. DiChiara has also developed his own philosophy for entrepreneurial success in a business and book called Bedrock Business Builders System. That's a mouthful, a tongue twister if you try and say it a couple of times fast, right, Joe? And he's made it easily available to entrepreneurs throughout the world. He also co-authored 6 books, 3 of which are bestsellers, and you can visit Joe on the web by going to bedrockbusinessbuilders.com. Welcome, Joe DiChiara.
Welcome. Thank you for inviting me. And let me just reach over here, and this is what started it all, Teresa. You see that?
Conversation that make a difference.
This was thanks to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to travel all the way to California to meet you, to figure out the power of collaboration and being an author.
Absolutely. And it's been a joyride ever since, and I say that with my heart, not facetiously. I say that with my heart. You are a joy to have as a friend, and you are doing great things in the world to help people with their businesses. And yeah, that conversations that make a difference, that opened my eyes to a whole different side of you, that purpose-driven side of you, that success through certain things with Wallace T. Waddles. And you want to just, before we get started with anything else, let's just talk a little bit about your journey and how you shifted from one area of just being straightforward CPA business to having a broader vision of what you were to do in the world. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Wow. Where do I start?
Let's start at the very beginning.
Yeah, and then where does the beginning start? You know, the thing is, you mentioned about the journey, and that's really one of the things that I've learned is it's really a journey. Mm-hmm. And I always had this desire to succeed, and specifically succeed in business. Not just one business, but multiple businesses. Mm-hmm. You know, from when I was from an early age, and my father saw this, and that's why he tricked me into becoming a CPA. But that's another story. So that was part of the journey. So I became the CPA that was numbers driven, and it was all about the balance sheet, cash flow, and it was really a scientific way of looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
But what I realized was, after years of resenting my father for making me into, oh my God, now I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant. This isn't what I planned on doing, and what I realized that, it's not, balance sheet is an end. This is a snapshot, but there's a bigger picture that goes beyond the numbers. And real success, I thought as an accountant that you measured success with numbers.
Yeah.
And that, for a long time I resented my father. Said, oh my God, you tricked me into being this CPA numbers crunchers guy, but I always wanted more. And this.
Mm-hmm.
As an entrepreneur, we always want more, and we're always searching for it.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So it's been, and I embraced the concept of it's a journey, and I'm going to keep learning, keep growing. Hopefully I'll never get to the end of the journey, because there really is no end. It's a constant evolution, and I've been blessed to be able to incorporate this life philosophy into my business.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you're right, it is a journey.
We have that in common, Teresa. What you're doing here, I give you kudos, because it's been great watching you, and we're really we're changing the world,
Mm-hmm.
Together. We're really doing it.
We are. We're changing the world. And every one of us is changing the world with what we have, because, and you've heard me say this multiple times, every single one of us comes to this world with specific gifts and talents. And it is our job to utilize what we have been given to make the world a better place than it was before we got here. And I truly believe that. And that could be aesthetically a better place, or that could be spiritually a better place, physically a better place, or emotionally and mentally, and open the door for people to have higher learning experiences. And that's exactly what you've had, Joe, a higher learning experience. I have a quick question. You said your father tricked you into becoming a CPA. You really didn't want to do that. What were you aspiring to be before you got tricked into being a CPA? What would you have rather have been doing?
I wanted to be Warren Buffett. Before I knew who Warren Buffett is. I literally, and I'm doing it today. When I look back, I'm like, man, I'm doing it. I didn't want to own one business. That was too confining for me.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to own multiple businesses. I just love the whole idea of starting something from nothing, starting with an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I was always fascinated with this, and when, as I studied being an entrepreneur, because I have studied this, I can go back, and if I bring you, but anybody that's in business, a real entrepreneur, we can go back to, we were the people that had the lemonade stands. I started a casino in my driveway when I was in 5th grade. So we're born entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And what the reason why I resented my father was I felt trapped as a CPA. I was only trapped in my own thinking. That's what I learned.
Mm-hmm.
Because I couldn't understand, how can I accomplish what I set out to accomplish, doing people's tax returns? How can I change the world?
Right.
By punching out payroll tax returns. But I figured out how I could do that.
Right. Well, I think that every single business, like corporate style business, like CPA, attorney, insurance agent, it has such parameters. It's got that box effect to it, like you gotta stay within the lines. I love that commercial. It was a car commercial. Stay within the lines, and then all of a sudden the car veers off at high speed. That's us, Joe. That's us.
Yes. Yes. And what I learned, what we learned is we put ourselves in the box.
Yes.
you know, the box is there, but we don't have to stay in the box.
Yeah. Yeah. So define for me, what is a purpose-driven business? I know when we created this conversation, we talked about purpose-driven business, and that it's not just about, you know, what we do. It's bringing more to us than more to everybody. And here's what we said with the invitation to join us. Joe will teach us how to start, grow, and succeed in a purpose-driven business. He will teach us how to build our business and run them using solid principles and discipline as our focus over principles and discipline as our focus over profits and tasks. And I invited anyone who was either in business or looking to become a business owner to join us. And the key words in this is purpose-driven. So if you could define for me what a purpose-driven business is, that would be awesome.
Okay. Well, I just realized all that stuff that we promised. I really hope that we achieve it.
We will deliver. We will deliver.
Yes, I will do my best. But so first off, let's define what a business is, because people, and you know, I've dealt with thousands of businesses over 30 years, and you would be surprised how many people lose sight of the fact that when you're in business, the definition of a business is an entity that is designed to turn profits. So whenever you're in a business, the real objective is to not only turn profits, but to generate positive cash flow. And I have literally seen thousands of businesses generate negative cash flow and never generate any cash flow at all. So, you know, before I define what a purpose-driven business is, I think it's important to understand that you want to go into business to make a profit. Mm-hmm. Okay? That's the bottom line. That being said, what I tell people is a purpose-driven business is you take profits out of the equation. Take money out of the equation. Stop focusing on money as your objective, because it's a given. Once you go into business, by definition, if you're not making a profit, the IRS says you have a hobby. You can't keep writing off your expenses. And believe me, it's unfortunate. I've had to tell, and this is the truth, I've had to tell plenty of people that it's time to close your business because you'd be better off getting a job at Starbucks.
No.
Okay? And that's the truth. There are millions of businesses out there that are actually literally operating below the poverty level.
Yeah.
Think about that. There's people in Long Island running businesses, and they were my clients. And I say they were my clients because I will not keep them as clients because I'm not going to enable them. Think about this. You're living on Long Island, one of the highest cost of living in the country. Try to support a family making less than $50,000 in a business. You can't do it.
No, it's impossible.
And that, to me, that's the real trend. Going out of business isn't a problem because at least you could start over. And people last decades living below the poverty level. I'm going to plug in my, I'm sorry. I have to plug in my computer here.
Yeah, we don't want to lose you now, Joe.
Okay, that wouldn't be good, right?
No.
I thought I had this plugged in, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's literally across the country, millions of people operating businesses below the poverty level. So that being said, what I tell people, and this, you can't separate with a small business, you cannot separate your personal life from your business life. Okay? You can't be successful in your business and not be successful at home. You can't be successful at home. They got to be combined. There's no way around that.
Joe, what do you think is the key thing that keeps people, as you said, so many millions of people operating below the poverty level? Is it the money piece or is it the mindset piece, Joe?
It's the mindset. They're delusional. Listen, entrepreneurs are delusional by design. We have to be, because we do things that are beyond comprehension. You know, look at Thomas Edison with the light bulb. Come on. Normal people would give up. You know, Walt Disney was, his employees were paying him, and he had no money to pay them. He was getting evicted out of offices for years. Mm-hmm. Steve Jobs. You can go down to any real entrepreneur has faced adversity. Has you know, Henry Ford with the car that people said he was crazy, and he was.
Yeah.
Or Steve Jobs. You know, down the list, we are delusional. But unfortunately, that warped sense makes us, and we're tenacious, Teresa.
Yeah.
But those kind of things keep us going.
Exactly.
We don't have people like me to, you know, not everybody has somebody like me to say, listen, you got to start, you got to give this ain't working.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna work. There's one thing between being tenacious and being stupid, and a lot of times it's just not being, not knowing when to, and you don't have to pack it in. You know, Larry Broughton used to say, still says, you know, you're gonna fail. You know, failing to me is quitting. But you got to know when to take the next turn. So that's what, you know, unfortunately keeps a lot of people going when they shouldn't be.
Yeah. Karen Mayfield says, entrepreneurs are always just one client away from $1 million. Entrepreneur mindset creates the wow. And I think that's absolutely right. And I also am getting, like in my mind, I'm thinking law of attraction, law of attraction, law of attraction. And this speaks to you and the purpose-driven versus money-driven concept. If you're not making money in your business, it's the tendency for people to stay in the mindset that they're not making money. They're not making money. They got to do something else to make money. They're not making money. They're not making money. Well, if you keep saying you're not making money, guess what you're going to do? Not make money.
Good point. And I never understood that, you know, but the universe throws back to us what we focus on. Right. So, and that gets back to your question about what is a purpose-driven business. Mm-hmm. A business that, let me put it simply, it comes from your heart. You know, you said in the beginning, we're all given God-given talents, and, you know, there's a reason for that. You know, whether you're an artist, an accountant, a lawyer, it doesn't matter. But you could take whatever, and I believe this. If you loved chasing butterflies, okay, and let people look, I could show you how to make that into a business. It might be difficult, but, you know, with today's technology, I mean, believe me, there's people on YouTube making hundreds of thousands of dollars showing people how to crochet.
Right. I know it's true, and it's a matter of exposure. So let's go right there for now, Joe. Let's say, what are some of the things? Because I know you and I are working on something that you're doing on a small scale, in a meetup type situation on a weekly basis, and now it's going to go onto the internet to invite other people to be part of what you're putting together. And we had a conversation about this, but let's talk about how you can take something that you are doing locally and create a global impact. I know that you've done this before, and so what are some of the things that we can offer to our entrepreneurs who are with us to be successful business owners using their God-given talents and their purpose?
Well, I'd like to give you as an example one of the first tools that I use. You know, I had to, and we mentioned I started this online bookkeeping business. Mm-hmm. It was a concept. As an accountant, you're geographically challenged. Mm-hmm. At the time, I had to drive to all of my clients, or they had to drive to me. So there's all that's wasted time, you know. Mm-hmm. And when they came up with the technology to be able to connect computers remotely, I had this idea. I said, wow, if I could have one location, and most people use QuickBooks, and at the time I was teaching people how to use QuickBooks. I said, if I could just put QuickBooks on a server, I can have somebody doing the bookkeeping from anywhere, and I could have a client from anywhere. There's no geographic limitations. And I took my mom, who was my guinea pig. I didn't tell her at the time. I said, Mom, I got this great idea, and I maybe I could hire you instead of going to this job. You could work for me. She had no bookkeeping experience. So little by little, it wasn't easy, but together we developed a system. And now my mom, who was living in New Mexico at the time, was doing my bookkeeping.
Wow.
I figured out how to reduce my accounting costs by over 50%, because a lot of my cost was the time and expense of traveling.
Right.
Now, I took this concept and I said, man, I could teach other people how to do this, how to do bookkeeping. Now everybody's doing it. But at the time, this was like 12 years ago. So I took that and I made it into a course. Okay, that course is still available. It's on my bookkeeping academy, on my online academy. So that was a way I took this knowledge and I was able to can it into a product. It's bookkeeping. Okay. You can do that with just about anything.
Right.
So that was a good example of how you could take anything locally and make it now global using technology.
Right. And look at this, what we're doing right now. I mean, Karen is in Arkansas, Lynn is in Oregon, Barbara is in San Diego, you're on Long Island, Steve is, I don't know where Steve is, we'll talk to him in a little bit, and we're all over the place here, and there's people on the phone from all over the country. So these tools that we have, some of them that are really either inexpensive or even free, can change your business. So what do you feel your purpose is in what you're doing now? And I won't answer it for you, but I can tell you what I think. You first, though.
What do I think? What is my purpose?
What is your purpose?
I'll tell you exactly what it was, because it happened to me. You know that I'm a big fan of Napoleon Hill.
Yes.
People know him from Think and Grow Rich. Well, he had a correspondence course before that called The Law of Success. And I took that course with my son and my best friend at the time. We were going through the course in my office, and it just hit me like a lightning bolt, just like he explains in Think and Grow Rich. And I said, I want to teach people these principles. I want to teach millions of people the principles of success. And I had no idea how I was going to do it, but I want to teach everybody all over the world how to do this. And so that's from that moment to meeting you. I mean, you were all part of the journey to what we're doing here right now. It's all part of what I wanted to do from that. And I get chills down my spine when I think about it, because I'm like, I'm living that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to ask you, so what are some of the principles that you took from Law of Success that you can tell us off the top of your head that were instrumental in changing your focus to a discipline and focus, if you will, rather than money?
You throw me a curveball here, because I didn't expect to be asked this.
Well, you know me, I'm like off the cuff kind of girl.
No, I love it. I love it.
Week. We were flying by the seat of our pants the whole time.
I love it, because the thing is that by incorporating these principles, they became something that was written down into something that I actually live every day. And so, I boiled down to 13 actual written principles
Okay.
that I share with people, and it's actually become a success system. I've been working on it for years, and I'll probably keep working on it. But the starting point for all success, and this came from Napoleon Hill, is what he calls definiteness of purpose. Okay. And this is where I get, you got to take money out of the equation. It's not about making money. When it really comes, what it really comes down to, Teresa, is service.
Yes.
We're all here to provide a service. And our journey is to figure out, using our God-given gifts and talents and experiences, how can I use this information, this God-given gift that I have, to be of service to people.
Yeah. I think
So that's the first principle. Your first purpose in life is to find what your purpose is.
Yeah.
And that's what I use as a business tool.
How many people have you met in your work that you do? Because I totally agree with you. And there are some people who actually go to their grave not knowing what their purpose is, because they live life with blinders on, or getting outside of themselves with alcohol, drugs, things like that, or they just are like lost souls with no direction. And the first purpose is to find your purpose, is exactly what you just said. And so how many people have you seen that had no idea who they were or what their purpose was, through the implementation of your principles, have been successful in business and life in general, have had different focus change? A lot of people, I'm sure.
I can't put a number on it. I can give you a couple of examples.
That's great.
Early in my career, one of the richest men I ever had as a client, he was worth over $10 million. He could actually write a check for over $1 million and it would clear. That's how much cash this guy had. One of the most miserable people I ever met in my life. His kids could not wait for him to pass away, and he did early. And he wasn't happy. He had all these assets, all this money, and he was miserable. And that stuck with me. I was like, money obviously doesn't make somebody happy, because he's got plenty of it and he's miserable. And then I had this other couple, and I tell the story all the time. 3 kids living on Long Island. Mom couldn't work because she was disabled. The father made $50,000-$60,000 a year. And when you're, raising a young family on Long Island, they had one car. They were always happy. Now, this was 35 years ago, and I was like, what is this all about? So what I wanted to find out was, how do you be happy and have money?
Yeah.
And that's what it's all been about. So when I got this epiphany in my office about Napoleon Hill, I can't tell you how many people. I hope that, sometimes you plant the seed, Teresa, and it takes time for it to germinate, and you're not around to see it. Mm-hmm. But I could tell you this group that I started, that you're talking about. I started this meetup group, and it's a mastermind group. And this one woman, and I hope that she's watching this or is going to listen to it. I'm not going to name her name, but she's in this group. She's a mortgage broker. Okay. And we're going through these principles that I'm teaching them. And it took about 6 weeks. And she decided one day, she comes into the group. She's like, you know what? I'm a massage therapist. That's what I always loved doing. I didn't know how I was going to make money at it. That's why she was doing mortgages. And now she's over here, and I'm like, oh my God, she's actually starting her massage business.
It's awesome.
Not that I think eventually she would have, I just helped, show her, listen, it's possible. And now she will be very, very successful. Because when you're not focusing on the money, you know what happens, Teresa? money starts coming if you're doing the right thing.
That's right. That's
You know?
right.
She could have made millions of dollars as a mortgage broker, but she would have never been happy.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of do what you love and the money will follow. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like you. So you talk about when you're getting started in a purpose-driven business, you have to have, you have to have a starting point. And you say a definite chief aim is your starting point. Can you define that for us?
Yes, Napoleon Hill made it very clear what a definite chief aim is. And I actually have a website. You can go to mydefinitechiefAim.com. And I just asked my web designer to make sure it's working. And it'll explain exactly what it is, but I'll tell you the short story. It's 3 parts. Okay, it's a simple, the shorter and more concise you can make it, the more effective it will be. And what it is it's a statement of the first thing is exactly what it is you want to accomplish. The second paragraph is what you're willing to do to make that happen. And the third paragraph is the result of your efforts. Bruce Lee, you remember Bruce Lee, right?
Yes.
When you go to that site, if you go to that site, you can download a copy of his definite chief aim. And you could see this guy wrote this in 1969 before he was Bruce Lee. And everything that he wrote there came true. He wrote in there, I will be the most successful, famous Oriental superstar in the world. There was no such thing as that. He created it, and he created it in his mind, and then he wrote it. See, writing it, and what I tell people is you got to handwrite this. You can't do this on a computer.
Why, Joe? I say this all the time. Tell me why. I say the same thing all the time.
Because thoughts are things. Thoughts become things. Everything in this universe started with a thought. I don't care if it's your computer, the chair you're sitting in. Somebody thought about this. The first step to manifesting it is when you took it out of your head and you put it on paper. It's as simple as that. So he wrote it and he made it happen. Those written words were the first manifestation of that happening.
Yeah. Wow. And they can see this at my definite. I'm putting it in the chat box.
mydefinitechiefAim.com.
Okay. Awesome. Now we have a couple of questions here. We're at the half-hour mark already. Would you believe it?
Cool.
Let's
a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Lynn says, how do we get from paid volunteers for more armed forces and military policing with single payer to paid volunteer community services with a basic guaranteed income with single payer for all the New Earth, green, and healing infrastructure projects, jobs, transformational services that can heal the hate, the violence, the old coping skills of drugging the problem, warring, mass incarceration, gun violence, and abuse? That is a loaded question. That's a loaded question. So basically, how do you think people, what I'm hearing you say here, Lynn, and I'm going to open your line for a second here and let you say what you are actually, ask that question from, where am I here, man?
I could actually answer that.
Go ahead.
Start with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When I sat there in my office and I said, I want to teach millions of people these principles, the next thought was, oh my God, I got to start practicing these myself.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you want to accomplish, you have to start applying to yourself. You can't start looking at other people and you should do this, you should do that. You got to look at what can I do, because sometimes we have this false belief that we're just one person. We're too little to make a difference.
Right. And
there's a ripple effect.
You're absolutely right. It is a ripple effect. And actually, Lynn is creating a ripple effect. She She is part of a lot of different communities that are speaking this language of hope, healing, and peace through modalities that are natural and not pharmaceutical. And she's doing a lot to change the world. I opened your line, Lynn. Do you want to speak to what Joe just said?
Hi, Lynn.
So I've actually done international business. I've been in a lot of different businesses. I was a registered nurse in 2 countries. I started learning shiatsu. I work with an acupuncturist out of China in Canada in 1981. So my background in healing arts goes way back. And the sadness that I see is we have all these beautiful healing art modalities and transformational coaching, modalities. And why aren't we teaching and training and paying our children for these mindfulness programs, for these healing art programs, for hands-on massage training, not hands-on guns and drugs? Why aren't we teaching and training our kids to go to these facilities, not to jail, for healing? We have all these modalities for healing our systems, but the problem is big pharma, fossil fuels, the drug wars. I mean, they are dominating our culture, our cities, our job creations, and they're pushing and pushing for more sign up, for more of the, I call them old paradigm, of processing. We need this new paradigm structure for these cities of enlightenment, peace, green, all these new projects and programs that you're teaching. Train the kids multicultural arts. You're going to teach and train them transformational programs. You're going to teach and train them soul parenting. You're going to teach them soul purpose. Who are they? Why are they really here?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much that they can be taught and trained. And then they're stepping into quantum physics. And then they're on to the universal laws, law of one. They understand we're all connected. This
Right.
planet's a big house, right? And then start to come into law of attraction at a higher level of our evolution.
Right. Yeah. Let's go there for a minute. So, and I know that you are creating a ripple effect. So let me just say that, and then I'll meet you again so Joe can respond. Go ahead.
Oh, I can respond now?
Yes.
Yeah. First, let me say thank you for your service. And, because of people like you, it's happening, Lynn. I could just tell you what I see in my own communities, my own kids. My son just completed a year in Thailand teaching these adorable 3 to 5 year old kids how to speak English.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't tell him to do this. I would have said, you know what, follow your heart, but there's no money in this, and I went and visited him, and there's all the, it was all about experiencing life, giving back. He's a 24-year-old man that is creating a huge ripple effect. Those kids are going to remember him for the rest of their lives. In my group, Teresa, I had this young man come into my group, 20 years old. And we talk about some deep stuff in this group, even though it was a marketing mastermind. You'd be surprised the conversations that we had. And I said, oh my God, I see more and more of these young people joining these conversations. And you still hear about all this negativity, Lynn. It's out there. It's always going to be out there, and it's loud. But I just see, Teresa, am I right? I mean, I just see over the last years, the last decade, and I think the internet is a big equalizer on that.
Right.
But
I think, people, Karen said the same thing. It's the wake-up process. People are waking up to who they are, to something different than what, and I want to get in a political conversation or a global conversation here, than what big pharma, politics, heads of states, heads of countries, or whatever the case may be, think is the way that we're supposed to go. And people are, for lack of a better phrase, rising up and waking up to the fact that they can do things differently. And it's through their own purposes and their passions for what they do that these changes are coming about and ripple effects are happening in the United States, in Canada, around the world, because once you're awake, there is no going back to sleep. There's no going back to sleep,
But
Yeah.
Look at the mortgage broker in my group.
Right.
You know, she's going to do massage therapy.
Right.
It's awesome.
Barbara Yeager, I'm going to open your line for you. Hang on one second. Go ahead, dear. Good morning from San Diego.
Good morning.
Good
You know,
morning.
it's fun to wake up, you know, and I mean, I was in corporate business for almost all of my adult life. And as Joe says, got tricked into being a CPA. I got tricked into being a lawyer. And so the thing is that when you go through that whole process and you come out on the other side, you look back and you say, well, where was my heart in all of this? And there's pieces of it. I mean, obviously, but now we're in a different place and we're awake, and the waking up process is bumpy and kind of gritty, and you get dirty and covered with stuff, and people look at you like you're crazy. But you know, I applaud you, Joe, for speaking out about that, to say, let's make some business, let's make business fun, let's make money and have fun making money.
Yes.
Because that's part of the business process too. And that's not something that we ever knew when we picked up a paycheck. We traded time for money. So when we start becoming entrepreneurs and doing things, it's a different attitude toward money. You know, you need money to pay your bills and do the things you need to do, but it gives you tremendous freedom to experience yourself as well. So have as much as you need. And this whole process now that we're going through, the transformation, where we're actually encouraging people to start to live their dreams, to make the difference in the world, to be of service, is becoming the battle cry now. We all bring our modalities out in the way that we do it, whatever it is we're doing. It will eventually outshine the darkness. That's my belief anyway. And the more we darkness, it's kind of like you can't see what good is coming from you as long as you keep turning around and looking what's behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it has to get a little darker, I think, before we can get it brighter. But I think those of us who are waking up and doing the work we do every day, we have to just keep focusing on that. The rest of it, I believe, will take care of itself.
Right.
But it is the actual learning how to do these things, how to be in our moment, how to experience ourselves doing what we love. That's the real thing. And to not have other people kind of step on our stones and make a mess out of it by saying, you know, you're not contributing in the way that you should contribute, or that you're not doing something. Because I'll tell you, when I first stopped being a lawyer, I had no idea where I was going, what I was going to do. How do I get going? And reading all the books. It was like going back to college again, the college of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where I think a lot of people, you know, feel like they're awake and so on, but you really, to get to the inside, that soft spot, you really have to go back and educate yourself and lose all the other speak, the corporate speak and the world speak and so on. And, you know, through the things that you do and showing us how to take ideas and make principles and be brilliant with them is really all part of the process of saying, yes, do that, focus on that. Here's a framework for you. Create a movement.
Yeah.
Teresa's creating a movement because we know how powerful movements are. Her movement is transformation. And we all have to jump in there and do something. So it's really good. And I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm rambling on here, but there's so many ideas that are coming out today that, you know, it's just so exciting. This moment at this time is so exciting for us to be here, to hear these things, these concepts, and to grow.
Right.
And it's like, you know, but for me, it's like, how is it good to make money? Because, you know, and really for you, someone who's always dealt with money, when you're starting to be an entrepreneur, you're not really sure, you know, that whole thing, do what you love and the money will come. It's so different than that every 2-week paycheck.
Yeah.
And the mindset change has
Yeah.
been very frightening, baffling, bewildering, it's scary. There's all these things that go into making that change, because let's face it, money still makes the world go round in many, many ways.
Yes.
And you got to have it to, you know, I guess, I don't know, if I've tried to get as small as I can in terms of giving myself enough room to maneuver myself, changing the things that I need and want. So, you know, how do you do that? How do you change that mindset? And, you know, as you said, don't have a business that's a hobby, but have a business that's really a business that supports you. How do you set goals as an entrepreneur? You know, that's a really big thing.
Yeah, and that leads me into, and I want to give you, Joe, a chance to answer you, Barbara. And I want to invite anybody who's on the phone. If you have a question for Joe, press *9, and we'll unmute your line. But I want to say this, Barbara, what you have said leads to some of the three key things that Joe considers most powerful when it comes to success. So, and you've touched on them, but I want to go to Joe and ask him, what are those three key things? And if you could just give us those in response to what Barbara has just brought forth here, that would be awesome.
Yeah, again, thank you for your comments, Barbara. I'd just like to mention that my son just became a lawyer. So anyway, I know that was a hard thing, but he's in a good place. We need lawyers, we need accountants, we need insurance people. We all need to make money, and you made that point. And I do want to make it clear, and Teresa, you asked me to provide some practical things before we end, and I want to come back to that. But what I've learned in my own life and studying other people that have been massively successful. And when I say massively successful, I'm not talking about having billions of dollars. That's just one measure. You can have billions of dollars and be miserable. That's not my idea of success.
Right.
But the people that really achieve success as they define it have three common factors. Number one, they're passionate, okay? They have real purpose in their life. Number two, they're able to focus on it, okay? As entrepreneurs, we're scattered. Every day, wake up with the 5 next, Facebook ideas, I'm not going to be successful because there's no way I can focus on all of those things. So passion, purpose, and focus. And the last one, you're going to be very surprised, is humility. People that are massively successful are humble enough to know and understand that they can't do everything themselves. They're willing to bring other people and listen to them, have an open mind, and be guided. Everyone in history that's been massively successful, no matter how determined they were, they had other people around them. Henry Ford had his wife, okay? Everybody, I don't care who, you can mention anybody in history, and you may not know who was their guiding force, but there was somebody there, and they were humble enough to be guided. So those are my three top qualities of being successful.
And as you say that, I can think of one person that you and I both know, who you mentioned his name earlier, who is highly successful and embodies all of these principles, and that's Larry Broughton.
Absolutely.
Larry Broughton. And if you don't know who Larry Broughton is, Broughton, Larry Broughton, he is a highly successful former Special Forces Marine who has really brought not only passion and purpose to his own life, but helped to spread it among other people, just as you're doing and I'm doing, Joe. And his humility is just, he's just so humble, and he's somebody who you just want to be around because of the fact that he has such a heart for other people. So check out Larry Broughton. He's highly successful in the hotel business, among other things, but he's somebody who embodies all of those three things that you just said, Joe. I have somebody who's had their hands raised for quite some time here. I'm going to unmute this line. It's a 631 area code, so Long Island, here we come.
Hi, this is Krista Janik. Yes, I am from Long Island. Hi, Teresa.
Hi,
Thank you so much
Krista.
for the call today. Hi, Joe.
Hi.
And I wanted to ask, my question is, in the everyday, day-to-day focus, the day-to-day grind of business development, sometimes the purpose seems really, really far away. because there are so many steps in between where you are and where you need to be. And that's even the case for, you know, even while you're working on clients sometimes. Sometimes you just don't quite see the purpose in your current client that you're working on today. Like maybe tomorrow you have one that you see purpose in, but right now it just feels like work you're doing to make money. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering, when that happens, what sorts of steps or mindset shifts do you recommend?
Can I answer now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned Larry Broughton, and Larry was kind enough to write a chapter in my book. And it's exactly an answer to your question. And his chapter is about tenacity. Mm-hmm. Okay. Once you have, you know, people with purpose and focus understand what tenacity is. And that's, you know, life is tough. I read a book called A Road Less Traveled. And in the first sentence, I think they say basically something to the effect that, you know, life is tough. Once you get over it, you can start enjoying life. And
yes,
we're going to be hit with all kinds of curveballs. The road to success is never a straight line. And mm-hmm. You know, I mentioned some people: Henry Ford, Steve Jobs, Larry Broughton. We've all had stuff that would knock a regular person off track, and they would give up. So the road is long. It's not easy. And, you know, all I could tell you is those times when, you know, you might be saying to yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I putting the effort in? We all have those times, but you just got to get through it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes things happen. And I'll give you an example. 2 years ago, I had this client, and I just had to walk away from them. They didn't match with what I was doing. They were a big client, and I had to take a step back financially. And I knew it was coming. I spent 1.5 years in a tough financial situation. But what was I going to do? I could have kept the client and said, oh, I'm making all this money, but I get a knock on it, you know, doing this work. Or I could have just said, you know what, I have a bigger purpose here. There's a bigger picture. And I could take a step back because I know, you know, because of people like Larry Broughton and all the other people that came before me, I'm going to come out of this even better. Mm-hmm. I hope that answered your question.
I muted her. She had some background noise, but let me unmute your line again. Krista, hang on. Go ahead. Did that answer the question for you?
Yeah, I'm just wondering what background noise you heard. It's actually pretty quiet here.
No, I just heard clicking. I heard clicking, and it could have been something else. But okay. It's just, I just wanted to be able to let Joe be heard. So, okay.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, that helps a little bit. Maybe if you tell me something that you said Larry wrote the chapter about that topic. What did he say? Or maybe you just want to share your book?
Yeah, how do people get your book? I know we have it available on Amazon. I had the great pleasure of editing this book, and it's really great information. So I can tell you the title of the book, again, Joe, is
From Myths to Money.
Right. And you can find it on Amazon. And if you just put Joe DiChiara in the search bar, it will come up. The chapter that Larry wrote is awesome, and everything around it that Joe put in there will absolutely help you in answering the question. And I also want to point out, you know, as you're, and you said this too, Joe, and not so many words, you know, about this client that wasn't serving you, or you weren't serving them in a way that was of the highest and greatest value to each other. And that's another question that I think we have to ask ourselves when we're working with people. What value is this person bringing to my life? If there is no value, if they're not adding to your life, instead detracting from your life, it's time to let go. If, in fact, you want to ask yourself another question, what value am I bringing to this person be honest with yourself. And there's the humility piece. Maybe you're not the person that someone needs to work with. Maybe it's time to let them go so they can find the person who is the right fit for them. So hopefully those things will help you, Krista. Yes?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah. You bring up a good point, Teresa. We only have a couple of minutes. And let me just tell you, what you just said, it was a mutual understanding. You know, we both, because the situation changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, business is fluid. You know, what I was trying to accomplish, we had a long, fruitful history together, but it came to a point where they actually became too big a client. I couldn't provide what they wanted. I didn't want to provide it. So we just had a mutual parting of the ways.
Yes.
It was difficult for both of us, believe me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If we could circle back, I don't, you know, this is your show, but I really want to give those couple of practices.
Yeah, go for it, because that was what I was going to ask you next before we close.
So
go ahead.
This is very easy. When I get a new client, the first thing I ask them to do is to put together a personal budget. Okay. If you don't have a personal budget, everything after that is fruitless. You can't run a business, because what that does is you got to come up with a monthly, this is what we need to live on. Okay, you got to have that regardless whether you're going into a business or not, but it's 100 times more important if you're going into a business. And that holds true if you're starting a business or you've been in a business for a long time, because that's the scientific part of the business. So you know, so if that number is $5,000 a month, I'll take that and say, okay, that is how much net profit your business has to generate for this to make sense for you. So we have a number, okay? The next step is to start looking at what your overhead costs are for your business, okay? These are the first two steps I start with everyone. The next thing is you got to define exactly what are you bringing to the table? What product or service do you have, and are people willing to pay for that? Because if they're not willing to pay for it, you're never going to make that that number in your personal budget. And the last thing is, not only do you have to know what product or service you're bringing, you got to know and understand who are you bringing it to.
Who's your target audience?
Right. Once you have those 4 or 5 different ingredients, now you could, you know, you can start running a business.
Yeah.
Any of those, you're going to be hard pressed.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and that's it. And that's it. That's the one side of the whole thing. And then also, I just want to point out here, the other thing that I was going to ask you is, what are some other actions that people can do on the other side of this equation, which is, you know, for your purpose. And you talked about the definite chief aim, develop your own. I know that's the first one. Then there are 2 others that you told me are massively important. So go ahead and give us those.
Well, you know, I think all of my 13 principles are important. I could tell you 2 others, and I'm going to skip to the end really. And I'd like to give people a chance to contact me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to ask you that next. So go ahead.
But so the other 2 that I think people forget is, number 1, they have to have faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about religious faith, or you have to have some kind of faith in yourself and what you're doing. And if you have that faith and that purpose, that'll provide you with all the tenacity you need to get through all those other things. And the other thing, and this might surprise you too, is rest.
Yeah.
As entrepreneurs, you know, I could work 24/7, 7 days a week, and eventually I start wearing down. I start snipping at people. My work, you know, you can't overwork. We overwork ourselves.
Yeah.
So I always try to take, you know, if not a whole day, a half a day, I'll go spend time with my daughter, walk the dog, but I need to clear my mind every so often.
Right. And these are just a few of the principles that you have in what you are, in what you're teaching. What is this website people can go to be in touch with you, where they can get emails from you or a newsletter and these 13 principles? And what's your email address that you want to give everybody in case they want to contact you?
Well, you could email me at joe@bedrockbusinessbuilders.com.
Mm-hmm.
bedrockbusinessbuilders.com. My site, you can go to bedrockbusinessbuilders.com. It's still being worked on as we speak, hopefully. That's a whole nother thing, having the website redesigned. So if you go on there, there is a link to click for. You can get a free gift. If it doesn't work, you can just email me, and I'll get you whatever you need.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Joe. And I know that there's so much that we haven't covered, so I want to invite you to come back to Transformational Tuesdays.
Absolutely.
Maybe after tax season is over, you'll be able to spend a little more time. We are an hour-long show, but as you can see, this conversation can go on for many hours.
Oh, yeah.
With lots of questions. And I encourage you, if you have questions that you didn't get a chance to ask Joe, or comments, and I know I see a lot of things going on in the chat room here, but because of time, I can't address them. Please go to transformationaltuesdays.com and go to Contact Teresa. Put all of that in the form, and I will be sure to get with Joe and see if we can get you some answers. I will pass along these comments to Joe after the meeting is over, and if he can provide us some information, I will again pass it along to you in my response to this in the form of a blog that you can read on transformationaltuesdays.com. Also, one other thing that I want to share is some action steps you can take besides the vision board and the things that Joe just said. Your chief aim, have faith in what you do, and rest. That's huge. That's huge. I can't tell you how many people have died by the tongue from Teresa Velardi because she didn't get enough rest. I want to tell you what comes out. I remember last week or 2 weeks ago, I was at a point of no return, and I was volunteering at the church, and I called the pastor and I said, I don't think I better come in. There are things coming out of my mouth that I haven't heard in years, and I don't trust myself. And part of that was because of the fact that I wasn't allowing myself enough time to rest. Another thing and another tool that Joe is an advocate of, and I will share this with you, is a vision board. If you've never created a vision board, create a vision board. And then one other thing that he says here is really important that will help you to connect to who you are and what your purpose is. Incorporate a daily routine that works for you. So, any last minute comment? Joe?
From me? Yeah, I love you. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it.
Thank you.
And, I want to thank your guests for visiting us and the questions.
Yeah.
And any questions people have, I'd love to provide you whatever feedback is. And if you have questions we couldn't get to you, I will definitely get back to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much for being my guest on Transformational Tuesday. And you and I will talk about a date that's going to work for you, that we can continue this conversation. Anybody interested in continuing, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're continuing this conversation. That would be great. I will definitely be in touch with you. We have an appointment on Saturday. I'll be there. And in the meanwhile, I want to invite everyone to not only have a great week, do something good for yourself, take time to be with you, learn what is your purpose. If you haven't figured out your purpose, I think the best way to do that is to get quiet and to listen to your soul. Do meditation, go for a walk, take the dog for a walk. Joe just said he has to go visit with his daughter every now and then. He has to go walk the dog or do whatever it is that's going to quiet the chatter of your mind so you can hear the soul of who you are, and have faith in the message that you get. That's one of the key things that Joe teaches. Have faith in who you are and what you bring to the world. Know your gifts and talents. Write them down, no matter what make a list. Make a list. I have a list of things. What do you do well? What do you do well? And are there people around who can help you to do things that you do well even better? So that's the collaborative effort. And Joe and I are huge on collaboration, right, Joe?
Absolutely.
Yes. So, and with all of that being said, I want to thank everyone for coming to Transformational Tuesdays. And I will see you again next week. And in the meanwhile, enjoy traveling what I like to call the transformational trails of life. See you next time, everyone.
So long, Teresa.